The next panel then is Rolanda Castro, Linda Brooks, Hannah Matham, June Kostick, Susan Peliquin, and Armando Savo. And then on deck would be Michelle Balin, Christine Boswell, David Bartholomew Waxman, Monica Guzman, Christine Collins Dixon, and Rachel Stevens. All right.
Madam Chair,
yes.
I'd like to say something.
Right, you're recognized.
Members, twice the governor's sister, Milla Perry, has been mentioned about her role as vice president for an organization of ambulatory surgical clinics. The organization she represents is an organization that clinics choose to join by choice. Any abortion clinic that would choose to convert to an ambulatory surgical center does not have to be participant in that organization, nor does that organization in any way benefit financially or otherwise from this bill. An individual clinic can become an independent ambulatory surgical clinic, and in fact, if there are more ambulatory surgical clinics, it would, in a sense, be in competition for business from those clinics. So I just don't think it's fair to mention her name and somehow a connection with the governor, as if this is some perverse reason for doing this bill. The other thing I'd like to mention that people have, rightly so, mentioned family planning efforts, sex education, primary care. Well, many members on this committee, Republicans and Democrats, have supported family planning, even in the face of criticism from some pro-life groups, and as well as supported more comprehensive sexual education and supported primary care and the formation and support of federally qualified health clinics. And I just think that in view of some of the testimony from the folks that are here, that should be pointed out, and that we spend about a fourth of our state budget on Medicaid and CHIP and those various areas. So that's not to say that we've been perfect with it, but we certainly, many of us, including Chairman Nelson and myself as vice chair of this committee, have advocated for that and had the support of the chair of finance, Senator Williams, and other members. So I thought that should be said. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Phillips. Mr. Castro, your turn.
That's Rolando Castro. I came here from Dallas. I'm representing myself, and I came here with Watermark Community Church. I come here today not as an advocate, not as a policy analyst. I come here as a new father. 25 days ago, I held my daughter for the first time, and I experienced life, and I experienced love. And I felt convicted to come from Dallas this morning to drive down here and cast my vote, because maybe it'll make a difference. With that being said, I am for SB 1 and any piece of legislation that hinders the unnatural, and I say unnatural, termination of life. I think you guys are, well, I know you guys are very logical people. You guys really take pride in our state, and I'm just curious if others, and I was really heartbroken to hear that other states do allow abortions past, or don't allow abortions past 20 weeks, and Texas is still doing that. It makes me wonder if do we value life less than Louisiana and Oklahoma? I mean, isn't that a good precedent to just get this bill through? I mean, does that not make enough sense? I don't know. But just thinking about a child, it just changes perspective on everything. So I got.
Okay, and that's it. Thank you, Mr. Castro. We gotta get our lights repaired. Just the light is not. Are we good? Okay, sorry. We just want to make sure everyone gets the exact same amount of time. Ms. Brooks, Linda?
My name is Linda Brooks. I'm living here in Austin. I'm opposed to Senate Bill 1, and I'm representing myself. I'm opposed to the bill because although the stated purpose is to protect women's health, I believe it will do just the opposite and put women's health at severe risk, and here's why. In 2004, I took a bus from Arlington, Texas, where I was living at the time. I was a high school counselor, to Washington, D.C., to the March for Women's Lives. The bus was picking up women all around I-35. The age range was college to mid-70s, with one woman dressed up in red, white, and blue, bringing both her teenage granddaughters so they could see democracy in action. Two young filmmakers from California rode along on this bus and interviewed the women to get their stories, which they brought into a documentary, The Women on the Bus. The woman sitting next to me was from San Antonio. She was well-dressed and well-spoken, in her early 60s. This is the story she had to tell. Before Roe v. Wade, she and her husband were living in Texas and were excited about hearing the news they were expecting their first child. But one night, something went terribly wrong. The woman started hemorrhaging. Her husband rushed her to the emergency room, both of them afraid she might lose the baby and hoping if they got there soon enough, the doctor could save the baby. As they arrived at the ER, one doctor on duty, and I wish Dr. Campbell was here to hear this, started checking out she and the baby. And the mother and the doctor, and they stood together. As they arrived at the ER, one doctor started checking out the woman and baby. Then he brought in another doctor, and they stood together by the door discussing the situation. At first, the woman and her husband felt reassured that two doctors were consulting each other, and they were going to get the best treatment to treat the woman and her baby. Imagine her shock and chagrin and horror when the doctors came to the bedside and told her she was probably losing the baby, but abortion was illegal in Texas, so if they treated her, there was a possibility they could lose their license. So she and her husband would have to leave the hospital, seek treatment elsewhere. The doctor packed the woman with cotton and gauze, discharged her from the hospital. With the wife still bleeding, the real chance of losing her along with the baby, the husband drove all the way frantically through the night to New Mexico to find a doctor who would treat his wife. And that's why she was there. She's afraid that's what happened to other women, because the doctors would hear more about their license than the woman. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Senators. I'm here. My name is Hannah Mathams. I'm from Damon, Texas, and I'm going to speak in proponency for this bill. I think an important section passed or missed by many in the text of this bill is the fact that the pregnant woman has up to the 20-week mark to abort the child if she so desires. This is a compromise I personally cannot endorse because life begins at conception regardless of fetal pain. However, the fact remains that's over 4 months for her to terminate the pregnancy. Along those same lines, the bill states that these reasonable restrictions would not apply to those who would otherwise lose their life due to giving birth. So in other words, this bill is not as restrictive as it is portrayed to be. When I heard the argument that abortion is a constitutional right, I went to my pocket constitution and found this basic principle. Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, from the 14th Amendment. Can anyone tell us what crimes unborn children have committed for which they should lose their lives? An important repercussion of abortion is that which takes place after the procedure. The Medical Science Monitor published a special report in which they used a method where retrospective data were collected using the Institute for Pregnancy Loss Questionnaire and the Traumatic Stress Institute's belief scale administered at healthcare facilities to 548 women who had experienced one or more abortions, but no other pregnancy losses. Overall, the findings here indicated that 65% of American women experienced multiple symptoms of increased arousal, re-experiencing, and avoidance associated with post-traumatic stress disorder. 14.3% met the full diagnostic criteria for PTSD. The data here suggests abortion can increase stress and decrease coping abilities. Our supreme ruler has already written on the tablets of our heart that which is right and those things which are wrong. Just the fact that the majority of women who have an abortion feel guilt is proof enough.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mason.
Thank you.
That's the end of your time. Thank you, ma'am. June Kostick? Ms. June Kostick? All right. We'll show her in support but not testifying. Susan Peliquin? Yes.
Hi, my name is Susan Peliquin, and I'm a constituent of Kurt Watson. I'm speaking as a concerned pro-life citizen in favor of SB 1. My heart breaks to think of all the little ones that will never be able to enjoy the freedoms we do as citizens because of abortion. But to allow abortion in instances where it can cause pain to innocent unborn children is deplorable. If there's a possibility that a 20-week-old fetus does feel pain during abortion, then we need to change our laws. As Dr. Paul Rinaldi says in his article, The Emerging Reality of Fetal Pain in Late Abortion, and I quote, "By every measure, the fetus from 16 to 19 weeks reacts to a painful stimulus in a manner consistent with the perception of pain. Support for Dr. Glover's position came from Canadian researcher Dr. Tim Crane, who has spent over 15 years studying pain in premature babies at the University of British Columbia. Yet while the pain system is up and running by 20 to 24 weeks gestation, this pain-modifying system does not begin to make its appearance until later in pregnancy, continuing to develop until full term and beyond. Thus, there is a key period of mismatch from 20 weeks onward. Raw pain impulses from the body may roar through unchecked with a modifying inhibitory mechanism that helps to blunt pain in adults, leaving the unborn child at this stage vulnerable to a degree of pain that is truly unimaginable. Dr. Glover has now raised concerns that this dreadful period of potential vulnerability to pain may extend as far back as 17 weeks gestation, unquote. I implore you to look at the substantial evidence that from 20 weeks and on, a fetus can feel pain. Please look into your hearts. If in your mind there's a possibility of fetal pain, I believe you have a responsibility to vote yes for SB1. And I do want to thank Senator Hager, who is not right here right now,
He's
for authoring,
right back there. I just saw him.
for authoring this bill. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Amanda Sabo?
Thank you, Chair and Committee. My name is Amanda Sabo, representing myself, and I am proud to be a constituent of Senator Zaffirini. I'm here to testify against Senate Bill 1. I didn't come here to tell an abortion story. Anecdotes don't have the bearing of facts and statistics. The fact is, this bill is hiding behind the guise of improving women's health, but as statistics show, women's health is not endangered by the current standards of care at abortion clinics. The Guttmacher Institute explains that under the current standards of care, abortion is one of the safest surgical procedures for women in the United States. Fewer than 0.5% of women obtaining abortions experience a complication, and the risk of death associated with abortion is about 1/10 that associated with childbirth. In reality, passing Senate Bill 1 negatively impacts women's health. Losing these vital clinics will make women more vulnerable to unsafe abortions. It will close clinics that provide one-woman exams and contraceptives. And this is my point. If it doesn't make sense, it isn't true. Ayn Rand once wrote, "Contradictions do not exist. Whenever you think you are facing a contradiction, check your premises. You'll find that one of them is wrong." The premise that this bill is being pushed forward in a second special session under the guise of caring about women's health is wrong. This bill is not to make women safer. It is to punish those women who want to or would have to choose abortion if necessary. It is to pass a moral judgment on abortion, which this legislative body does not have the authority to do. When you find your bill that amends the Health and Safety Code supported by the religious right and opposed by the American Congress of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, as well as your constituents, you need to check your premises. If you really believe, despite all the evidence to the contrary, that Senate Bill 1 will protect women, then it is your obligation to set aside funds to aid the clinics in danger of closing. If you do not feel obligated to do so, then you're facing another contradiction. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to this entire panel.